Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so your friends see it. Thank you.
Hillary email server bombshell. Corrupt FBI agent knew of server breach, but did nothing. The FBI under Barack Obama lost all credibility. They cared more about helping Hillary Clinton defeat Donald Trump in the election than the rule of law. Now, a bombshell about Hillary's email server was just revealed. It's kind of a big deal. From Fox News. During the final months of the Clinton email investigation, FBI agent Peter Strzok was advised of an irregularity in the metadata of Hillary Clinton's server that suggested a possible breach, but there was no significant follow-up, according to two sources with knowledge of the matter. Sources told Fox News that Strzok, who sent anti-Trump text messages that got him removed from the ongoing special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe, was told about the metadata anomaly in 2016, but Strzok did not support a formal damage assessment. One source said, "Nothing happened." Washington Times has more. Justice Department Inspector General Michael Lee Horowitz, who is investigating how the agency handled the Clinton probe, is said to be investigating the allegations, Fox News said. Neither the FBI nor the Inspector General's office provided comment to the network. Mr. Strozk helped edit former FBI Director James Comey's July 2016 public statement recommending against criminal charges in the Clinton probe, according to media reports. In an early draft from May 2016, Mr. Comey said it was reasonably likely that hostile actors had gained access to Ms. Clinton's private email account, according to published reports, but that was changed to say it was possible the account was breached, Fox News said. Hillary cannot keep getting away with her malfeasance. Lock her up, finally. Kellyanne Conway violated federal law in Alabama election, investigator finds. Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president, ran afoul of federal laws last year by expressing preferences for one candidate and against another in Alabama's special Senate election, a federal investigator said in a report released on Tuesday. In a report submitted to President Donald Trump, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel found that Conway violated the Hatch Act, which regulates campaigning by most executive branch employees. In a release that accompanied the report itself, the office said it was submitting its report to the president for disciplinary action. The White House pushed back against the findings. Kellyanne Conway did not advocate for or against the election of any particular candidate, Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley said on Tuesday. She simply expressed the president's obvious position that he have people in the House and Senate who support his agenda. In fact, Kellyanne's statements actually show her intention and desire to comply with the Hatch Act, as she twice declined to respond to the host's specific invitation to encourage Alabamians to vote for the Republican. The report details two interviews Conway gave to Fox News and CNN in late November and early December, respectively. The Office of Special Counsel found that in the first interview, Conway gave an implied endorsement of the Republican nominee, Roy Moore, by advocating against Doug Jones, the Democrat who would go on to win the Senate seat. In the second interview, the report says, Conway was more explicit, again lobbing criticism at Jones but also urging viewers to support Moore. In her November interview, Conway said Trump had no plans to campaign for Moore but told viewers not to be fooled by Jones, whom she labeled a doctrinaire liberal. On CNN in December, Conway defended Moore against allegations of sexual misconduct against girls as young as 14 when he was in his 30s, and once again attacked Jones. During her second interview, CNN anchor Chris Cuomo reminded Conway that you've got to be careful about the Hatch Act. In both cases, the Office of Special Counsel said that Conway's violations occurred after she received significant training on Hatch Act violations. Conway previously drew scrutiny from the Office of Government Ethics for offering what she described as a free commercial for the clothing line of Ivanka Trump, the president's daughter and a White House aide. The then head of the ethics office, Walter Shaub, called Conway's remarks, which also came on Fox News, a clear violation. In passing this law, Congress intended to promote public confidence in the executive branch by ensuring the federal government is working for all Americans without regard to their political views, the report reads. Ms. Conway's statements during the Fox and Friends and New Day interviews impermissibly mixed official government business with political views about candidates in the Alabama special election for U.S. Senate. Nunberg TV tour sparks media food fight. Before Sam Nunberg's unprecedented media tour had even ended Monday night, debate broke out over whether networks should have kept airing live interviews with the former Donald Trump aide as he seemed to self-destruct before viewers' eyes. That debate exploded into a full-on Twitter food fight Tuesday, after Axios dubbed news coverage of Nunberg the worst scandal porn in its morning newsletter. This is one of the reasons America hates the media, Axios co-founders Mike Allen and Jim Van Hay wrote in a widely discussed post. Our entire industry lit itself on fire because a troubled Trump hanger-on made an ass of himself, live. I didn't realize at Axios' new headquarters was a glass house, tweeted MSNBC anchor Stephanie Ruhle in response to Tuesday's newsletter. Washington Post White House reporter Josh Dawsey pointed out that Axios had published portions of a subpoena sent from special counsel Robert Mueller's team to an anonymous witness. Jonathan Swan, the Axios reporter behind the scoop, acknowledged Tuesday his source was Nunberg. Fox News on Tuesday also bashed liberal media organizations that it said feasted Monday on Sam Nunberg, a clearly distressed, possibly drunk bit player from the early days of the Trump campaign. While journalists traded barbs over their outlets' decision-making, media ethicists said the right call was not so simple to determine. Networks were right to bring Nunberg on the air, they said, but as the sit-downs wore on, the issue became more complicated. I think absolutely in the early going and, given the gravity of the situation, sure there's news value in what he has to say, said Kathleen Culver, the director for the Center for Journalism Ethics at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. But as time wore on, it seemed to me the public interest was less served and the potential for harm was greater. Nunberg, an advisor to Trump early in his presidential campaign, dominated much of the cable news cycle as he ping-ponged between interviews with the Washington Post, MSNBC, twice, and CNN, also twice, among others. He vowed to defy a grand jury subpoena from the special prosecutor's office. He later backtracked, suggested other campaign officials had colluded with foreign officials and speculated that the president may very well have done something during the election with the Russians. His explosive remarks devolved into personal attacks on Trump and White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. The Nunberg media tour appeared to bottom out when CNN's Aaron Burnett asked if he was intoxicated, which he denied. We're dealing with someone who is an adult, someone who held a prominent position in the Trump campaign, said Jane Kirtley, a professor of media ethics and law at the University of Minnesota. He's in the public eye now because of the subpoena controversy and his public defiance about it. His interviews, whether he chose to use them for this, were a chance for him to state his case and have his say. On the other hand, Kirtley said, journalists are supposed to minimize harm, both to the subject and the audience, and as the hours wore on, Kirtley said she was less sure whether the news value provided by airing Nunberg outweighed the harm. There's a point to which keeping him on the air is really just pandering to partisan voyeurism, she said. How much of that is too much? Is there a point at which it really has devolved into such a meltdown that the benefit to the public is negligible and the harm to the subject is pretty great? One issue to consider, Culver said, is simply how viewers at home would perceive the interview. When I talk to people about the problems they have with news organizations and individual journalists, I can understand their reasoning sometimes. I can see why what we often in the industry see as newsworthy, people see as vulture behavior, she said. Kirtley said, though, that Nunberg was ultimately responsible for his actions. "We're not dealing with someone who has some mental incapacity or is 16 years old," she said. "This guy is an adult." While both professors had concerns about continually airing Nunberg, they also acknowledged that he did continue to make news throughout the day, providing justification to keep him talking. Whether to air him or not, they said, was an in-the-moment judgment call, much more art than science. The best thing journalists can do in those situations, both agreed, is explain their reasoning, so the audience understands their decision-making. "These are not rubber-stamp decisions. We're talking about incredible allegations at the highest level of power of the United States," Culver said. "For journalists, the answer quite often is being more open about what we've done and why we've done it.